You brought this up. You wanted to have this discussion about the halo and the horn effect.
Yes.
So now we know it's religious, like with the saint and with the devil horns.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that current affairs? Why is that important for you now? Professor Schippers, may I ask you some questions?
Yes, of course. What do you want to know, Rico?
All too easily we get associated with people or with thoughts or with events and turn you guilty by association without even knowing it.
Yes.
For journalists, that sometimes get expressed as let's not talk to him or let's not interview her.
Yes.
Because people would fear the repercussions, the public opinion, if you're associated with the wrong kind of thoughts or people. I despise that, and I talk to everyone. That's my slogan. That's my motto. But what can you tell us about that, Michaela?
Well, a lot. I think there are three things at play here, and one of them is the halo effect, which is if somebody, it's really literally a halo of a saint. And people who have the halo effect is that you have a positive association with you, for instance, because you're kind, you're, you talk to everyone, and then you get a kind of an image. And that image is a halo effect, so he is not only kind and that, but also, 5 more positive, friendly and outgoing, and so all these positive aspects are also attributed to you.
That I don't have, but that will be associated with
You might
me.
not have them. Maybe you will have all of them, but that's a kind of that's the halo effect. And there's an opposite of that. It's called the horn effect. It's a devil's horn, actually, and it means that negative aspects will also stick to you. If you have a criminal past, then you will still be, and that's the most extreme one. Or you have lost your company, then you are not trustworthy with money, but you're also not so kind, and it's your...
Guilty by association. That's what we're talking about.
Yes.
Be that positive or negative.
Yeah.
Okay. Why is that an important... I mean, you brought this up. You wanted to have this discussion about the halo and the horn effect.
Yes.
So now we know it's religious, like with the saint and with the devil horns.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that current affairs? Why is that important for you now?
I saw a film with Gabor Maté and Prince Harry, and he was also found guilty by association afterwards.
Then there was the incredible social media and British media reaction to it that was, for the most part, so negative and so demeaning and so dismissive and so distorted that I barely even know how to talk about it. I thought by this age I would know better, but you know what? It really got to me. So
there's a lot of negativity that the prince meets. He's ginger, he's a whiner, he's the ginger
For
whinger.
me, okay, so this is Harry from the royalty in the United Kingdom. So I don't follow British royalty or royalty, whatever, for that matter. But Harry left United Kingdom and went to live in United States. He was done with it. That's what I watched or what have you on television.
Yeah, probably it's very difficult to escape the British press, even if you're in the States. So what they have kind of a preoccupation that with his behavior and how he is, and it's basically the fundamental attribution error. So what they say, he's a spoiled brat, he's a spoiled prince, so his behavior reflects that. What Gabor says, on the other hand, is no, he has a childhood trauma. So, and his behavior may stem from his childhood trauma.
Children can be traumatized not just by terrible things happening to them, but just by not having their needs met. By not being seen, not being heard, not being held. Those are wounding for a child, which is what the meaning of the word trauma means. So you don't need terrible things to happen. So Harry describes in his book, Spare, that he's 12 years old when his mother is killed. How he's told about his mother's death is that his father, then Prince Charles, comes into his room early in the morning and says, something terrible happened, there was an accident, your mother didn't make it. Then there's a few moments of awkward silence, and finally, Charles touches Harry on the knee and says, "But it'll be okay," and leaves the room. And this is how this 12-year-old was told. Nobody held him.
And for saying that, he gets scolded too, because he's now guilty by association. He is taking sides with the prince. And
I will link this you asked me to watch that thing, so I watched the video. There's no video of the talk between Harry and Gabor. That was a private session, but there is reflections on that that I read. I will link that under this conversation. So Gabor Maté is now a Canadian psychiatrist who specializes in childhood trauma.
Yes.
And he had a conversation with Harry about Harry's book, in which he described how he grew up.
Yes.
That's what triggered you.
Yes, and he tells that he is being scolded as well for just
talking to Harry
about his childhood trauma, and they say, he's a spoiled brat, he's the ginger winter, I don't know exactly how they pronounce that, but it's a whiner, and he's a spoiled person, and so they have a totally different explanation for his behavior. And Gabor says he's from a dysfunctional family. The royal family is a dysfunctional family. They haven't treated him well. When his mother died, his father came in and said, "I'm sorry, your mother's died and it's going to be fine," and just put a hand on his knee and that's it.
And left.
And left. So they have different explanations for his behavior, and the fundamental attribution error says that people are prone to say it's your behavior if it's another person, and if it is about themselves, they can't see the circumstances. So they fail to see the circumstances that lead to certain behavior. So if you're late, you know that the bridge was open and that's why you're late, and I see you as a person who comes late if it happens. Always. So I generalize to behavior.
In one conversation I go from a person with positive traits to the guy who's always late. Thank you.
Yes. I think it's easy to take you as an example.
Yeah, carry on. Yeah, okay.
And so this is one thing, and the other thing is also dehumanization. So if you say he's the ginger winter, or however you pronounce that, it's saying something about people with red hair. It's saying about that they're, not
going into the content of matter of what people say or do, but on physical attributes, the way you look.
Yes, but also put you in a corner with a lot of red people, let's say, or say that the people with red hair are in general, but they actually feel more pain. That's what Gabor Maté says. They are more sensitive, and you can say, "Hey, you are overly sensitive," but they are sensitive and they feel more, and that's what happens. And dehumanization in general can lead to atrocities, because we don't see this person as a human being anymore, and a human being that has suffered because he's rich, so what's he whining about? That's not the issue. The issue is he suffers as many other people do. Okay,
so that will be the horn effect.
That would be the horn effect, yeah. So, well, Gabor said, and that's interesting, and that's also the horn effect, that in the press, what he said was even wrongly depicted. So he said that even animals hug their offspring and comfort them when they're in distress. And what did the press say? Gabor says that the royal family treats their kids like animals. And he actually said the opposite. He said, "I wish they did treat them like the animals do, because they hug their offspring."
Hug your kids, yeah. But I also saw a lady who actually saw the conversation between Harry and Gabor Maté. Mm-hmm. And she said, "Well, no, that's not what the uproar was about. Mm-hmm. The uproar was about both of them describing the positive traits of psychedelic drugs." Mm-hmm. And they were discussing, apparently I didn't see the conversation, ayahuasca and what benefits Harry had from that.
I'm calling BS on that one. Why? Because the whole problem with the interview, as far as we were all concerned, was what Hazza was saying. He was praising these illicit substances for helping him with his mental health situation, right? But by doing so, he was slammed for it.
So
yeah, he is in mental distress, so he has tried something, and apparently their society has a judgment about that.
Oh, definitely, also. It's forbidden in I don't know if where the conversation was held, but they said it was forbidden in that jurisdiction, and that's the reason why they got scolded for that.
Okay.
You shouldn't be positive about
something that's forbidden.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's the
because
law.
I know there is a lot of research into. Well, I talked about microdosing, for instance, but I don't know if there's research on ayahuasca because I'm not looking into that kind of research. But on the other hand,
have you ever done ayahuasca, Michaela?
No drugs whatsoever.
Oh, not. Oh.
To be honest, I just don't like it. I tried to smoke when I was young, just regular, cigarette, and I hated it, so I never tried anything else apart from. So I really have a clean slate in that sense, but I don't judge it. And it's funny because I went to the States every year, and then they said there's also a halo effect, maybe, or maybe a horn effect. When I said I came from Amsterdam, they said, "Oh, great, then you probably do drugs." And I got so tired of defending myself that at a certain point in time I said, well, the problem is it's allowed in Amsterdam, so I don't do it because, there's no fun if it's allowed. And then they understood that. They're like, oh, yeah, sure.
If we're going to do anecdotes, in 1999 I had so that's a long time ago, 24 years ago, an American colleague was over here. I was to integrate the company I was working for in Amsterdam into that American company, and he visited us. And I recall us being on the subway and talking about drugs. Obviously, I mean, we were in Amsterdam, so what goes on here with cannabis and all that? Yeah. And he lowered his voice. You can't talk about that. And I said, well, why are you lowering your voice? We're having a casual conversation about whatever is normal here. And then he had to laugh also. But it is the fear of guilty by association, or however people would perceive that.
Yes.
In certain parts, you would not talk about doing what might be considered normal here back in the day, because it's stigmatized more and more here also, I suppose. Yeah. Amsterdam is not the free place that it used to be when we grew up.
Okay.
You think?
I don't know, because I haven't, I probably not, but I haven't been looking into this subject because I don't care, to be honest. Okay. Myself, I do care about people who get addicted to it, have problems with it, and I think by forbidding things, we create more problems than we solve. And I think that is, in general, a psychological issue.
The only negativity in terms of press coverage for Dr. Gabor Maté is something that I actually reported on as well, which was that he was promoting and he was giving these illicit substances, as reported in the press, to his patients in, I believe, if I remember rightly, Canada. Basically in a country where it's illegal. Yeah, and he was warned by the health service in that specific country to stop what he was doing, otherwise he was going to get prosecuted.
And afterwards, Harry and I both wanted it released to the public for free, but the lawyer said you can't do that because this was advertised as a one-time only event, and there could be a class action suit. So the result was that I agreed to something that I didn't really like. Not that I didn't like the idea of talking with him. I didn't like the idea of putting this behind a paywall.
I read what Gabor Maté said about that conversation, and he distanced himself from it for two reasons. One was, they put it up behind a paywall, both him and Harry. And I praised him for that, said, well, let's make this public, let everybody see that. No, that's not going to happen if it's about drugs, I think. But that's just my interpretation.
Okay.
But that was fair. But the other reason was that all of the British tabloid press was negative on him for talking to Harry.
Yes.
So he
got a lot of backlash.
He wanted to wash his hands of him? Was that what happened?
No, what I saw, that he said he regretted it, but that was because of the paywall mainly, and he didn't see it coming, that the huge backlash. And I think maybe he would do it again, but maybe in a different way, or I think the backlash, the enormity of the backlash, he didn't expect. Even though he's a psychologist himself, and you could say you should have expected this. Yeah.
All right, now you've been writing an article about this, or what?
I'm trying to write an article about it, but not yet.
Okay. Well, thanks for clarifying the halo and the horn effect, Michaela.
You're welcome. Thanks for listening.